It is Friday in the NBA, and we are back with our best player props, spreads, and over-unders to bet on November 5th. Now, we have 9 games on the slate today. Let's see if we can make some money heading into the weekend. And yesterday, we did make some money. But before we get into our recap portion of the video, let's talk about the parlay giveaway that I have been teasing. And it's in honor of you guys helping us hit 12,000 subscribers. So here's the parlay. I'm putting it up on the screen, and I'll talk about it a little bit more on the calling my shot portion of the channel as to why I picked these 4 legs. But we're going to make it pay out over $12,000, and I'm going to give back the large majority of it to you guys. I'll post the official ticket on Twitter a little bit later this morning. But it's simple. Those 4 legs, if they cash, I'm giving away $10,000 of that $12,000 payout. And it's very simple to enter. We're going to give away $1,000 to 10 of you guys that are 1, subscribe to the channel, 2, like this video, and 3, just comment down below. I don't care what you comment. You can say, Austin, you're looking handsome today. Austin, happy Friday. Have a great weekend. Whatever you want, comment your best bet down below. Either way, just comment, like, and subscribe, and boom, you are entered. If it cashes, I'll go through the comments, pick 10 random people, and try to get in contact with you and send each of you $1,000. Now, let's get into it. Let's recap yesterday. And I got to say, that's 100% free to enter. So go at it. Let's say yesterday, 3-2. We got bounced back after a bad Wednesday. And we made some money, winning back 0.65 units. Now, Josh Giddey, Chris Paul, and the Sixers all showed up and showed out. Bam Adebayo and the Heat never stood a chance, arguably. They got blown out. And Rudy Gobert and the Jazz locked it down. Yesterday, I said Rudy Gobert was out. I'm sorry I said that. That's why betting spreads is a little bit hard this early in the morning. Yeah, apparently several outlets said he was out, and then, of course, he's back in. Donovan Mitchell didn't play. Whatever. Not much you can do about that. Now, the best bets have been slacking, but we're going to get into it. And I know there's only one man that we can count on to get us back on track in the best bets department. He's a man that helped us cash many of tickets last year. Give a round of applause to our man, Eric Bledsoe, under 10.5 points, -120 on FanDuel. If you don't understand the Eric Bledsoe meme, well, that's exactly what he is on this Call on Our Shot channel. Last year, we picked a ton of his unders while he was on the Pelicans, and he was helping us cash. We called it All Reliable. We'd flip open the All Reliable, and boom, there was Eric Bledsoe's under. And we are going to take it again today. Eric, I got to give you some props, no pun intended. You started off the season great. You had 22 points and 13 points in the first 2 games, shooting it pretty well. Since then, you have really struggled over your last 5 games. You have not hit this over. You've scored 6, 5, 3, 6, and 7 points in the last 5. You have attempted 8 or less shots in all 5 of those games. You're 1 for 17 from the 3-point line. And is he due maybe to make some shots tonight? Possibly. But today the Timberwolves, who are they playing again on a back-to-back, they just played a couple days ago. Yeah, Eric just had 6 points in that game, and they scored 126 points that game as well. Now, Eric's basically the 5th scoring option on this offense every single time he's on the court. And heck, sometimes I think the Clippers players rather take a shot clock violation than let Eric Bledsoe shoot. But all joking aside, Timberwolves currently the 5th most. They've allowed the 5th fewest points to opposing point guards, and they quietly have some good defenders at the guard position. They got guys like Josh Okogie, Pat Beverly should be starting today, Malik Beasley, even Anthony Edwards, all pretty decent defenders. And you got Reggie Jackson and Paul George shooting the majority of shots, shooting 18, 20 times a night. There really aren't a lot of shots to go around. Eric Bledsoe kind of doesn't get a lot of shots. Like I said, 8 or less shots in 5 straight games. And so I'll take the under. Eric Bledsoe, we're counting on you, man. Now moving on to some spreads and over-unders. We're taking the Warriors, -9, currently -110. I think this is the no-brainer, and sometimes when you see a no-brainer spread in the NBA, it's normally a loss. But the Pelicans are chilling at 1-8, and I'm just gonna fade them like we faded the Pistons yesterday, and we're going to talk about the Pistons in a little bit. But the Pelicans, like I said, 1-8, worst record in the NBA, and today they're versing a very good team in the Warriors, 6-1, second in the Western Conference, and they quietly have the best defensive rating in the NBA. Now, I am unsure if Brandon Ingram will play, but truthfully, I don't think it really makes a big difference. The Warriors, their last 2 games, they've really been showing out. They've both been at home, which is where they are today. They beat the Thunder by 21 points, who the Thunder seem to only be good against the Lakers for whatever reason. And then they beat the Hornets by 22 points. A very good Hornets team. One of their players we'll talk about in a little bit. Now, they're a really good cohesive unit. Like I said, first in the defensive rating. And the Pelicans are not that. They've lost 2 straight on the road by 13 and 12 points to the Suns and the Kings. And this will be their 3rd game in 4 days, all of them being on the road. They don't have to play until Monday against Dallas, so maybe they just take it easy today. The Brandon Ingram's replacement, Herb Jones, he's in concussion protocol. All of that aside, the Warriors are playing great basketball, and that's what Steph Curry, really not shooting it all too well. Not scoring the normal points that we're used to, so we'll take the Warriors -9 points here. Now moving on to an over-under, taking the Knicks versus the Bucks, taking the over 217.5 points. The Knicks, very streaky team this season. One game they'll score 98 points, then 123, vice versa. But the Bucks, I think, will carry the pace in this one. They currently rank 5th in pace. And the Knicks, like I've said before, they're making a lot of threes, more so than they have ever before. They're second in the NBA in threes made, and they're a better offensive team than they have been the last 2 years. That's not saying much. Over the last 2 years, though, these Bucks and Knicks games have been large majority very high scoring. Here are their combined scores the last 6 matchups. 198 points, 235, 240, 230, 225, and 220. So they've cashed the over in 5 of those 6 matchups. Now, the one game that didn't hit the over, I wouldn't be alarmed. They were starting Alec Burks and Julius Randle or RJ Barrett were their only 2 offensive options. Julius Randle did not play in that game. On the Bucks side, they were starting their 3rd string plus Brook Lopez. Yeah, Giannis, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, all those guys did not play. They were starting their 3rd string in that game. Safe to say they won't be doing that today. Giannis will be back. Drew Holiday even might be back today. He's on track to play. So I'll take the over in this one. I think both teams should push the pace, shoot a lot of threes, and we just need some of them to fall for this over to cash. Over 217.5 points. We'll lock it in. Now let's move on to one last spread before we get into 4 player props. Taking the Nets -10 versus the Pistons. I talked about fading the Pistons yesterday, and it worked. And I'm going to keep doing it until it hurts me. Now the Pistons, they're playing a team. They're on a back-to-back, and this team just beat them by 26 points a couple days ago. I did say the Pistons were keeping it close against the Nets, and then they just got absolutely blown out. The Nets shot it extremely efficient, and I think that's the case again today. The Pistons are 1-7 on the season. 5 of those 7 losses coming by 10 or more points. And now it is a little tricky because they were 12-point underdogs last time they played the Nets, and now they're only 10 points, so a little bit tricky. Maybe this is a trap, but I'll fall into the trap because the Nets are clearly the better team here. On back-to-back games for the Pistons last season, they scored under the amount they scored the previous game 90% of the time. They only scored 98 points yesterday, 66 of those being in the first half. They only managed 32 points in the second half. I'll ride with the Nets here, who've quietly been a better defensive team than people really give them credit for, currently ranking 8th in defensive rating, and I'll ride with them and James Harden and Kevin Durant tonight. Moving on to some player props, Miles Bridges over 30.5 PRAs, -110 on DraftKings. You really thought we weren't going to ride with Miles Bridges again tonight? This man's been a cash machine. He's just been printing out cash for everyone. We'll ride with him again. Here's his game log over his last 7 games. 43 PRAs, 30, 34, 31, 37, 38, 43. He's clearly cashless in 6 of 7 games so far in his past. Well, he's cashed it really in all 7, but in terms of this line, he's cashed in 6 of 7. The one time he didn't clear it, he shot 4 for 18 from the field, and that's what we love to see because this guy's shooting a ton of times. He's shooting 18 to 20 times per night, and you love to see that against the Kings team that, 1, doesn't play very well defensively. They're 22nd in defensive rating, and 2, they're bad. 2, I don't know what I'm doing. They're giving up a ton of rebounds to opposing teams, so I think he can pile up the stats in a majority of ways, and I would be a fool not to continue riding with Miles Bridges. And icing on top, his backup, PJ Washington, who plays around 17 to 20 minutes a game, yeah, he's unlikely to play today, so maybe we see Miles Bridges get a couple extra minutes. Either way, this over-under is 226. I think Vegas and the sportsbooks are expecting a high-scoring game. And it starts with Miles Bridges for that Hornets roster. And moving on to another over-under, and this is a guy that was involved in the $12,000 parlay giveaway. Ja Morant taking his over 6.5 assists. And yeah, if he hits a double-double, it's even better for us. But I have faith in him getting this over here, as well as potentially getting a double-double. Now, as a whole this season, Ja Morant has hit this over in 5 of 7 games. And he's averaging 15 assists to opportunities per game. Now, we don't even need half of them. We only need 7 of those 15 if that's what he's been averaging to cash this over. But I love the matchup versus the Wizards. In his last 3 games against the Wizards, he's had 10 assists in each of them. Hence why we're betting the double-double. He's had 10, 10, 10. Last 3, straight up. And now the Wizards this year, they are a different team than they have been in the past. But they're still not a great defensive team. They're still 15th in defensive rating, and they're allowing the 10th most assists to opposing point guards at 9 per game. Now, Ja Morant, one of the best playmakers out there, he's a little bit struggled the last 2 games against a good Nuggets interior defensive team, and I don't think that will be the case today against the Wizards. They'll have Steven Adams, Jaren Jackson Jr. playing better. I think they'll be able to score on some pick and rolls more than they were able to do it against the Nuggets. So we'll ride with them. Like I said, it's over 6.5 assists. Not asking for a lot, but he's had 10 straight and 3 straight games versus the Wizards. So I'll ride with it. And if he gets us a double-double, even better. Now moving on to another over-under for a player prop. RJ Barrett, over 16.5 points, -115 on DraftKings. Barrett, like I talked about a couple days, quietly been playing very well. He scored 20-plus points in 4 straight games, and he's been filling up the stat sheet too. You could take his PRAs at 24.5, but truthfully, I think he doesn't get there unless he scores over 16.5 points. Barrett has scored 23, 27, 35, and 20 points the last 4. Like I said, he's been playing very well, and he's been shooting it super well. Over his last 5 matchups versus Milwaukee, he has hit this over in all of them. 21, 22, 17, 22, and 17 points. And it's been on good efficiency. And in those 5 games against Milwaukee, it wasn't on good efficiency. What he's been doing over the last 4 games has been ridiculous. He's shooting 56% from the field, 56% from three-point line. And granted, that is bound to regress. He won't shoot that well, but he clearly worked on his shot over the offseason. And in those last 5 games versus the Bucks, he had 15-plus shot attempts in all 5 of them. And that's something he's done pretty consistently over the last 4 to 5 games. I think, like I said, this is a young and up-and-coming star in the league, and I hope he continues it for my New York Knicks. So ride with his over. I think he gets enough shot attempts up tonight, 15 to 20 shots, and over 16.5 points. Not asking for a lot. Now, Miles Turner is our next player we're targeting. Over 18.5 PRAs, minus 115 on DraftKings. Turner, one of the more volatile players to bet on in the NBA, but I think he's liable to hit this over very easily just on points alone. Turner has had games this season when he's had 40 points and 10 rebounds. That's not a typo. He'd had that in a game. Oh, he's also had a game where he had 4 points and 4 rebounds. That's the ebbs and flows of Miles Turner, but I love this matchup. Over his last 4 games, he's had 40, 27, 25, and 20 PRAs. He and Sabonis are really forming a nice duo, and I think it does well tonight against the Blazers. And like I said, he can hit this over on just points alone. Now, today they take on the Blazers, who do not have a great defense. 22nd in defensive rating. Here are his PRA numbers versus the Blazers over his last 6 matchups. 21, 24, 38, 20, 23, 30. He's hit the over in every single game. His rebounding over, not a bad prop to take, over 6.5 rebounds. I like it, but as long as Turner can stay out of foul trouble and get us some open and good looks, I think he cashes this. You look at the Blazers team, they don't really match up great against this team, and we could see Miles Turner was a mismatch down below, and I think he could easily cash this over. So we'll take his over 18.5 PRAs and lock it in. Now moving on, let's talk about calling my shot, the parlay giveaway. Again, like I said, all you got to do is like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. We don't care what you comment, just comment something down below. John Morant, the first leg, he's had a double-double 2 times this season, but like I said, he's done it in 3 straight games versus the Wizards, and he has had one, so I'll ride with him again. Miles Bridges, you already heard me talk about him. He scored 30-plus points in 4 games this season, so no reason he can't do it. He's shooting 18 to 20 times per night. All he has to do is knock down a good percentage of those shots. PJ Washington not out there. I think he has a good chance. Miles Turner, he has a double-double. He has 3 double-doubles this season, and he had 2 of those 3 and 2 of his last 3 games, and he has 3 straight double-doubles versus the Blazers as a whole. And the last one, Jarrett Allen, 16-plus rebounds. It's a lot of rebounds to ask, but he's done it in back-to-back games, done it 3 times this season. And they're versus a team that I'm not necessarily scared about interior-wise in terms of the Raptors. They're not very big. So those are all the legs. I love all of them. I think they have a decent shot all individually, but we'll ride with them all together. If it cashes, we're giving away $1,000 to 10 of you guys. So those are my 8 plays. I might not add another, but be sure you're following us on Twitter at @CallingOurShot. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Catch you guys again Saturday. Let's make some money today. NFL best bets are on the screen. We appreciate all you guys' love. It's been Austin. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.